So hopefully you've seen my book, the ebook, which you'll get on EFC for free, of course, which is Working in Business, a guide for hippies. And that is a jokey title. Anyone doing embodied work with any mainstream group, and that could be business, it could be government, it could be cynical teenagers on an estate, whatever. Super, super useful stuff in there. This is a short video to kind of back that up. Some people prefer the videos to the reading as well. So the sort of top things of working embodiment in business. Start with the basics, dress the part. You can get away with being a bit weirder, but dress the part. That sometimes means don't be too smart, depending on who you're working with. If it's a tech company or something, you come in a suit and tie, just look like an idiot. But generally, you know, dress relatively quick, brief, speaking words, dressed relatively smartly. These days, I won't wear a tie. I might wear a jacket and jeans and a shirt like I am now. I might wear the flat shoes that I'm wearing now, relatively sort of, they're not necessarily a business shoe, but they're not a trainer either. As an embodiment teacher, you can get away with, you know, wearing vibro flat foot or whatever quite often. Yeah, so dressing the part. The main thing with business is that you're speaking to their concerns, though. So there's a whole nother video on how to contract with business, how to set up a training. That's a big part of it, and a big part of that is getting the aim right. Like, here's what we're trying to achieve, and actually being able to sell into business, being able to achieve and, you know, in business do what helpful to them and they would like, is having a really clear aim and being able to deliver on that. So orientating around their actual needs rather than doing your thing because it's fun and you're an embodiment trainer. Language, talked about in other videos, but specific to business, the operational language we teach, super, super helpful. Getting rid of jargony buzzwords or sort of hippie things like saying chakras or energy, or, you know, some of the things like mindfulness are now fine, and emotional intelligence, and you can go in through things people know like body language and mindfulness, and yeah, using a bit of neuroscience to get the buy-in, going in through the head. Like, one thing I do in business that I wouldn't do on EFC, for example, is I might start with a slideshow and everyone sat down in chairs. I'm just not going to bother doing that on EFC because I don't need to with you guys. There's enough buy-in. Whereas the business group, it might make sense to explain the idea of embodiment. So one thing we'll give you a bit of practice of, and well worth practicing in your groups, is like if someone says, well, why the body? You know, is it fitness? What's this idea? As soon as you say body, in more conservative groups, they can feel a bit embarrassed. Look at the adult development stuff as to why, like, body is dangerous. They might associate body with sort of sex stuff or being sued in a corporate context or having to be fit. So they might have body shame around their bellies or, you know, whatever, getting older. So bearing in mind, and I always try and understand in those contexts and remind myself that people are quite brave if they're in those contexts and they're doing that. They're stepping out of their comfort zone, and it's my job to support them and make that easy. And if there's a bit of embarrassment or joking, you know, being very clear, like, this isn't, I remember Strozzi, you know, saying once, this isn't the body athletic or aesthetic, like, straight away. Yeah, so I might say it's not about having a six-pack, it's not about looking like the magazines, it's not about being skinny, it's about da-da-da-da-da, yeah? The whole approach we have from Paul Linden of don't believe me, let's see for yourself, let's prove it, that very rational, like, evidence-based, see for yourself, I think that's the heart of embodied work. So instead of making these authority claims around science and the kind of authority claims around, oh, the neuroscience says, or the great guru says, or the ancient wisdom of the people of wherever says, actually much better to orientate to people's own inner authority by getting them to try things. That's not only empowering, it's also very business friendly, because they don't have to buy into a worldview in order to participate. They just have to give something a go. And that's usually what I'll say to them. I'll say, listen, feel free to be skeptical, but don't be cynical. Do give things a go. And, you know, if you like it, then keep doing it. And then just appeal to their own rational self-interest. And that works pretty well in a business context, as long as you've given them a little bit of established some credibility up front, how you're introduced before the training, how you dress, how you speak, your own embodiment. You're not coming across as kind of like, hey guys, I'm here to tell you about embodiment. Like, if there's too much air and water, it's just not going to go down well. So being able to kind of like, you know, right now I'm in a fairly earthy mood. I might, you know, sometimes a bit fiery in business, and being able to bring that tone of straightforwardness I'd say a key thing here as well is the more comfortable you are with it, the more comfortable they will be. Yeah. So the more you've just been doing centering all for, 5 times a day, every day for 9 months on EFC, it's just not going to be weird to you when you take it to someone else. It's going to feel like if I was recommending, there's this thing called brushing your teeth that makes your teeth clean, that wouldn't be weird. That wouldn't be esoteric. It'd just be like something I do. And like if someone said, hey, I've got dirty teeth, that would be an easy thing for me to recommend and teach them how to do it. It wouldn't be a big deal, right? So it gets like that with embodiment. This kind of weird long word, after a while, it's just something you do, something you live on a daily basis that's not particularly spectacular even to you. It's just an effective set of tools and a way of living, I would say as well. Yeah, so in a business context, orientating around the needs, setting it up well, using good, clear operational language, the sort of prove it way of doing things, maybe a bit of science to help them get it, but still orientating to their own experience, their own needs, and making it really practical. Like often with training, we do an exercise, and the model will often say is that how do you land it? What's the so what to them? What's the application? This is actually an EFC exam criteria. Often one people don't do very well actually on exams. So this is very business oriented. Application is saying, okay, I taught you centering. Where can you use that? Yeah. I remember there was one group, sometimes they do it for you, sometimes most of the time you need to help groups. There was one business group that kind of did it for me and gave me loads of great ideas for other groups. I taught them 4 elements and they said, right, we're going to color code all our clients and make an email template for each one. And, we're going to call them in a different way. And we're going to have this introduction that's going to be different for the different 4 element groups. And they almost like weaponized the 4 elements like that. And they came up with like 10 different ideas. And I was like, wow, I think they were like a creative design agency or something. Was it a PR agency? It was a group that were particularly good at that. And I've actually used some of those ideas since, and I've suggested those ideas like, how could you use this in meetings? How could you use this in appraisals? How could you use this with client sales? Making that application really clear. Because if the client walks out of there going, right, I've got something I can definitely use, then you haven't wasted their time and money. Don't underestimate the time one. If you're in a more sort of spacious life, I mean, a lot of people these days are busy, but if you're not, just be aware that most of those people are busy to a level you can't imagine. I had one client recently say to me, I didn't have time to go to the toilet yesterday, which, I'm busy, but that's bonkers. It was like literally, so they couldn't go to the toilet all day. They didn't have a spare 3 minutes. And all these lawyers who bill by 7-minute blocks or 5-minute blocks their time, because they're really counting in those sort of increments. So just bear in mind that if people are in a room with you and you're talking some hippie drivel, wasting their time is the key thing. And that's actually the key cost for a lot of businesses. What else? I think they're the main ones. Dress the part, talk the part, look the part, embody the part, meet their actual needs. Realize what you bring to the table is the last one I'd say. Working on your own enemy images, your own internal issues. If you think business people are evil, then you're not going to be able to serve them because they'll smell it on you. And working on your internal stuff, and also, your self-esteem stuff. So often it's almost like people are overcompensating for an insecurity. So there's something about really valuing what you do and realizing that, you can get away with being a bit different and a bit weird. And that's actually, part of the charm. One organization in Sweden booked me because they said, listen, we've been following your Facebook. And I went, oh God, this is going to be bad. All right. Because I mouth off on Facebook about all kinds of things. And they said, no, we want someone provocative and colorful. And we want someone who's going to shake things up. I mean, obviously by the middle of the first day they were begging me to tone it down, but to be fair, that's why they got me in, was to actually shake things up, move things up, to offer something different, to have a bit of color in their world. So yeah, it's good to own that as well. Okay, so there's some of my top tips for working in business and other mainstream contexts. All the EFC exam criteria are about this though. So the stuff we're doing on EFC throughout, whether it's aims, applications, operational language, your own embodiment, centering, etc., all useful. Yeah, and if you want to talk to me about specific examples, if you're an EFC student or you're one of my mentees, then absolutely, I can show you schedules that I've worked through, or, you can bring me your client and tell me what you're going to do with them. If you're part of the EFC community, then I'd really encourage you to do that, and I'll take time with you to do that.